Good morning, Heather.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
Good.
Good.
Yeah,
How's your week been?
pretty good. Yeah. We went out and rode our four-wheelers today, and this over Thanksgiving break, and got to see some family.
Good.
And, yeah.
Good.
Super good.
I know that's something that you really talk about liking. So
Yeah.
how'd that feel?
Good.
Good.
Still drinking though.
Okay. I was just gonna ask that.
Mhm.
All right. How's that going? I know last time we talked, you mentioned that maybe you were gonna stop, maybe you weren't.
Mhm.
Okay. So how's that going?
Well, I want to stop. I really do, and I think it's um, in my best interest.
Sure.
But it's so hard, and my husband drinks, and my kids drink, and everybody around me drinks, and so then when I say, oh, I'm not gonna have any more, or I don't want to drink tonight, they're all like, why? They don't understand it, and but I just feel like it's really affecting my health. Like,
Okay.
there's a lot going on, and I don't feel good. I don't feel like I can't get out of bed. It's hard for me to get here this morning, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So overall, you personally are feeling that it's affecting you physically and mentally.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like my memory is just really bad too, and it's like no matter what, no matter how much I drink, it's like I don't remember what happened, and I don't know, and the doctor said something about possibly stuff with my liver, and that's scary. I don't want to die.
Absolutely.
I don't wanna
Absolutely.
Die. So I don't know. I don't know what to do because it just seems so easy to drink, and stopping, I feel like I'd lose everyone.
Okay. So you mentioned maybe wanting to stop. Mentioned some difficulties with obviously stopping, with not having the support from those around you,
Right.
which definitely, absolutely makes it harder,
Right.
for sure. And so you kind of find yourself kind of in this balance right now. So what would be some of the reasons, and you've identified a couple, but let's just kind of list them out. What would be some of the reasons that you think you should stop?
Well, definitely my health. I think, I've been sober in the past, and I really enjoyed my life then.
Okay.
I didn't feel like I had a crutch, or didn't feel like I needed something all the time. I just knew that I could get up and do it. Granted, it was still in the back of my mind, but yeah, I really enjoyed life then, and I was single, and I also didn't feel like I needed a significant other. But so my health for sure, that my kids, I get drunk, I say stupid things, I do stupid things, and I want to be around for my kids and my grandkids, and
That makes sense.
be a positive role model.
Sure. No, that makes absolute sense. So obviously we've talked about the negatives, and we've talked about reasons to stop in the past, and you've identified that obviously, knowing all the reasons to stop. I mean, you know them,
Yeah.
and I know them, and it obviously still presents quite a challenge for you. So I want you to think about something a little different, and this is something we haven't really talked about before, but what are some of the positives
To drinking?
for drinking?
Well, it can be really fun.
Okay.
I feel like when we go four-wheeling, sometimes I let loose a little bit more, do some crazy things on the four-wheeler. It's positive because my significant other drinks too, and so it's kind of something we bond over. And I guess being around my kids too when they drink, I kind of just feel like that's what we do. And I guess that's the main thing. I don't like forgetting about the night. I don't like waking up not knowing what I did. And yeah.
So thinking about that, because obviously that's a little different than what we've ever done, is talking about the good reasons to drink. Why do you think that would be something that we might talk about in here?
Maybe because those are the things I have to be able to let go of.
Okay.
Is that maybe why?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, what we know is, we know the reasons why. You've talked about your health, you've talked about your loss of memory, you've talked about possibly losing your children, and obviously those are things that are fearful
Yeah.
to you. And one thing that we know is that the fear factor doesn't always work, and in your case, it definitely isn't working to make you stop or to help you stop. And so to be able to identify what are some of the reasons that we do, why do we keep, even though we have that fear and we know what the dangers are, there's something that keeps us coming back. Now obviously the addiction part is part of it, but there's an emotional part that you've started to identify that possibly keeps you going back to it, that outweighs some of those fears.
Yeah.
So, have you ever thought about the positives?
You know, I don't think I have. I think it's always kind of been negative until I'm doing it, because when I'm sober, it's usually I've done something stupid, and then I drink more to forget about what I've done.
Sure.
And so, when I'm sober, all I want to do is drink, because I don't want to think about the things that I've done the night before, or to my kids, or things I said stupid, or you know, I was in the ER probably about 2 months ago, and I woke up there, don't remember getting there, and apparently told someone I wanted to kill myself. That's not me.
Okay.
And that's scary.
I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how often do you black out to that point, or have you ever done that before?
Yeah, I have. I black out probably a couple times a week.
Okay. Yeah.
And I don't know if it's, I feel like no matter how much I drink, I'm blacking out.
Okay.
So I'll try to just, you know, like we talked about, I just want to drink 1 or 2. But it seems like even if I drink 1, 2, 3, 4, which isn't a lot for me, I black out.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's something, because my health is deteriorating, or
Okay.
I don't know.
So you definitely feel it's taking its toll on you.
Yep.
Yeah. That would be scary.
Yeah.
That'd be scary, not knowing what just happened. Does it ever make you fear for your life or your safety or injury?
Yeah. Well, especially not knowing what I'm doing when I'm drinking and saying I wanted to kill myself, and apparently I grabbed a bottle of pills, and my significant other at that point called the cops, and then it was this whole thing, and that's scary. I want to be around, I do, and so the fear of my health, the fear of what I do when I drink, those are just the things that keep going through my mind, and they're kind of making me depressed. I mean,
Sure.
not want to get out of bed unless I have a drink in my hand. You know?
Absolutely. Absolutely makes sense. And so, going back to that concept of, you have a handful of reasons that you've identified as to why you go back to drinking, and we've identified that some of those things might carry a little more weight than the fear itself, because we keep going back to it. And so sticking along those lines, because I think if we have the ability to kind of combat some of those positive reasons, it increases your chance, because it sounds like you're kind of in that interesting area where you're kind of in that pre-contemplation stage where maybe I want to quit, but you're also almost in that contemplation stage where I think it's time for me to maybe take some action. And so you mentioned that a while back, or at least in the past, you've had periods of sobriety, and we know that in that period of sobriety you experienced good times and good moments and things like that. How did you get to that point?
So that was when my first husband and I got divorced, and I actually lost my kids in the divorce. He took them for a while, so I lost everything. And I knew that I had to make a big change in order to get them back, and that was what I did. I got sober, I got a job, I was on my feet. I got a house, and so it was losing everything. It took losing everything.
So how did you accomplish because obviously stopping is a very difficult task. How did you manage to, what did you do to get that sobriety? I mean, you talked about some of the things, some of the life changes that you made. How did you achieve the sobriety itself?
Well, I had a friend who had gotten clean. She was an addict, and she knew that I was going through this, and I had picked up drinking even more. And so she reached out and just let me know about some meetings and some things like that, and I willingly went, and it was hard for a while, and I didn't get sober for a while, but about a year later I finally pulled it together and realized there was no way I was getting my kids back if I didn't get sober. So just all of that together, I think. I was thinking, and I was talking with my husband, is there a place like some place I can go to get sober? Because I just don't know if I can do it at home.
Absolutely. In fact, at the stage that you're at and the amount that you've talked about drinking, the blackouts, that would, when you decide to go down that route, that would probably be an advisable route due to the fact that you're probably going to go through some medical needs, and you're probably going to need some supervision over you. And so when it gets to that point, definitely we've got some numbers. I can help contact you to the places that are out there so that we can definitely help you in that particular avenue. For the will, it'll be tough. It'll be tough. You mentioned that it was tough the first time, and you mentioned that right now you're probably a little bit more ingrained in it, and medically you're suffering some additional things that you weren't suffering back 20 years ago, with the blackouts and some of the loss of memory and things. And so definitely I would encourage some medical, at least oversight. So I think that's a fantastic plan that you have in place, or that you're thinking about. So when that point comes, we definitely have the ability to, I have some numbers, I can give them to you today when we leave. We have a recovery center that Lifeways has. There's some additional ones that are out there as well. We can get you those numbers. If it's too difficult for you to personally contact, I'd be more than happy to contact some of these facilities for you to take a look at. Because like I said, it sounds like you're kind of kind of swaying back and forth, maybe even kind of knowing where you want to go, a little bit of fear. And so and I definitely want you to be able to have the best chance at success. So so one thing that I've noticed, and we've talked about this in a way, we've talked about this a little bit, but a couple times in our sessions we've got to points that are a little bit more difficult. Talking about times that are more important for change, and you really kind of get to that cusp of change. And have you ever, and let me ask you, do you do this in other situations? Have you ever found yourself laughing at situations that seem inappropriate? Okay. Why do you think that is?
Oh, I don't know. I've done it since I was really little. I remember laughing at funerals, laughing in class when someone got in trouble. I don't know what it is.
So you find yourself laughing at maybe what society or other people might consider inappropriate time. Okay. Have you ever thought that there's a possibility of it being a coping mechanism for you so you don't have to face up? Because we got to the point we're talking about you actually making this change. And the plan started to become more of a reality. I mentioned getting a list, making some calls for you, and all of a sudden that became a little bit more of a reality. I've noticed sometimes in the past when we talked about different changes, as I give you different homework assignments or whatever, you've kind of went down that route as well. Has it ever crossed your mind that that's kind of a coping mechanism that you've developed over the years to avoid that conversation.
Yeah,
Continue.
I think that's definitely a problem. But it just is something that maybe makes it seem easier to talk
Sure.
about. If
Yeah.
I just laugh it off and pretend like I don't care, which I do care. It's just hard.
Just makes it so that that you don't have to directly attack that particular, at least in your mind. Yeah, no. And so those are things that, and as we recognize different things, we talked about, as we recognize that drinking itself brings some positive emotions, some positive reasons, as we identify that when things get a little bit stressful and a little bit difficult, I find myself laughing at inappropriate times, being able to identify those things are some of the things that allows us to start to make some of those changes. Because if we don't know they exist, okay, if we're simply laughing at inappropriate times, we don't realize where it's coming from. It's first of all, it's tough to change. But second of all, and you mentioned it at our last session, sometimes you even kind of think that maybe there's something wrong with you.
Right, yeah.
Okay? Like, what is wrong with me? I'm at a funeral and I'm laughing. But if we identify that it's a coping mechanism that's perhaps misplaced or misused, it gives us a little bit better chance to combat that. If we identify that drinking brings some positive emotions for us, or some positive reasons for us, it gives us something to combat. Okay. For sure. Because we tend to go to some of those things when when things get tough. So, I know that we're almost out of time, and so one thing that I wanted you to think about as more of a homework assignment is we've talked about a few different things today, but I want you to think back to your time of sobriety. And you talked about some of the good things you did. You had a job, you had more friends and stuff. I want you to, this week, to make a list, similar to the list we made of positive reasons to drink. I want you to make a list of all the positive things, and I want you to get creative. I want you to think of all the positive things that went through your life, and I know there were struggles, but I just want this list to be just the positive things, and we'll talk about the other ones later, but just the positive things that existed in your life during your time of sobriety. Okay? Including thoughts and emotions. I know you had a job, I know you had friends, but how did you feel? What did you think? How did it, what was going through your mind on a life away from alcohol? And try to remember how that time was for you personally, and write it out. I don't care if it's this list is really for you. I don't care if it's a bulleted list, I don't care if it's a narrative list, whatever is going to work best for you, so that you can really contemplate and really remember what those positive things that were going on for you when life, as you described it, was pretty good at the time.
I can do that, and then maybe as we're walking out, we can get a list of those.
Absolutely.
And I can just check them out.
For sure. I'll grab you one. I have a list in my drawer. I'll get you one, and we'll get that. So, anyways, so get your homework assignments. Anyways, have a fantastic week. If you have any problems, issues, same as always, make sure to give us a call. And but we'll get you scheduled up at the front desk for our next appointment.
Sounds good.
And anyways, it was good seeing you.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.